Trump's presidency will have profound economic and political consequences for North America. In the previous episode, we talked about the president's bipartisan approval, the legal system, healthcare, climate change, and more. In part 2 of the North American analysis for 2017, we will go over the remaining topics such as trade, immigration, as well as Washington's relationship with neighboring Canada and Mexico. My name is Shirvan and welcome to Caspian Report. If you want to support our channel to produce more original content like this, please visit patreon.com/CaspianReport. One of Trump's most questionable positions concerns the recent trade treaties. Trump has a protectionist stance on trade. He believes the current deals are hurting American workers and companies. More specifically, he doesn't approve of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, and the North American Free Trade Agreement, or better known by their abbreviations, the TTP, the TTIP, and NAFTA respectively. The TTP seeks to tightly link the American economy with 11 others around the Pacific. It's an ambitious idea, but ultimately it's far too complicated to work. The TTP is only in its infancy and has not been ratified, meaning in 2017 Trump will have no trouble overturning the concept. And without American participation, the concept will be rendered meaningless. In the long term, the failure to implement the TTP will diminish American influence in the Pacific. Another proposal that is as good as that is the TTIP, which seeks to bring about lower trade tariffs, reduce regulatory barriers, and spur forth cheaper goods and services between the United States and the European Union. The TTIP is one of the biggest agreements of its kind. However, the deal is still years away from a real structure. Just like the TTP, Trump could abandon the TTIP, however it will change little for the current state of affairs. In fact, the European Union may prefer to ditch the draft either way, since the TTIP seeks to get rid of non-tariff barriers. These are restrictive regional rules on quality, size, and the standards of goods, meaning without the TTIP, Europe would not have to lower the quality of its goods. The final trade agreement concerns NAFTA, which is a trilateral trade bloc in North America. Some Canadian officials are worried that Trump may seek to dismantle the agreement. However, Trump will be powerless to change NAFTA. The trade bloc is an existing treaty. In other words, it's American law. A president cannot change laws, only Congress can. And regarding NAFTA, Congress isn't expected to adjust its position. In fact, Trump would be isolated in his attempt to undermine NAFTA, since it would disturb trade. For instance, in 2015, the goods and services trade between the United States and Canada amounted to an estimated $662 billion. The fact of the matter is, Ottawa is Washington's second largest goods trading partner. Without NAFTA, the flow of goods would severely diminish due to tariff and non-tariff regulations. This would have an enormous financial fallout. Hence, despite Trump's criticism, officials in Washington and Ottawa will do the opposite and work to preserve NAFTA. Ultimately, Canada has little to worry about Trump's administration. Evidently, there will be some uneasiness between Trudeau and Trump. However, both men also have much in common, especially in the sphere of energy and trade. In fact, by the end of 2017, Trudeau will witness a boost to Canada's financial fortunes due to Trump's infrastructure bill and corporate tax reform. Further south in Mexico, things could not be more different. Trump has stated that he would deport illegal immigrants from Mexico and construct a wall on the Mexican-American border. Yet in 2017, mass deportation and the wall will fail to pass. First, there are an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. However, illegal immigration exists in the United States because of American citizens who are willing to hire workers without documentation. Trump could focus on finding and arresting American citizens rather than the illegal immigrants themselves In time, such an approach would decrease the demand for illegal workers. However, the problem of this approach is that it would upset the construction and agricultural lobbies in Washington. For these reasons, it's unlikely that Trump will do anything against illegal immigrants. The president, however, could in theory deport about 740,000 young undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children. These people were given protection and work permits under the executive order issued by President Obama in 2012. Trump could, after a legal battle, overturn Obama's ruling with his own executive order. What's more is that Trump could block Syrian refugees from entering the United States. With the right media coverage, the deportation of hundreds of thousands of people and denying Syrian refugees from asylum would be just as dramatic as the deportation of 11 million illegal immigrants. Trump may view this as a low-risk objective. However, in pursuit of such goals, he will find enormous opposition in the Senate by the Democrats as well as the Republicans. As for the wall on the Mexican border, Trump could technically build it, but it would be completely meaningless. A wall cannot stop the smuggling of contraband for the same reason it cannot stop illegal immigrants. The flow of contraband is not a matter of physical security. As long as there exists a demand for contraband, Americans will smuggle guns and money into Mexico, and Mexicans will smuggle narcotics into the United States. The problem with contrabands is that the profit margins are usually too high to refuse. For example, a kilo of crystal meth costs about $300 to synthesize in Mexico, yet it will sell for nearly $20,000 in the United States. This kind of profit margin is unheard of in any other industry, and it's basically what enables the illicit flow of goods. Smugglers will always find creative ways to traverse barriers. In fact, most of the contraband crosses the Mexican-American border through official checkpoints. What's more is that every day hundreds of thousands of people move through the American-Mexican border in a two-way streak. This translates into 6 million vehicles and 3 million pedestrians crossing the border every month. The numbers are even greater when one adds the amount of people traveling by vessels, trains, and planes. Every individual presents an opportunity for smugglers and thus must be checked for contraband. In 2017 and the near future, this will remain an impossible task. Closely intertwined with the contraband trade is the wave of violence that has devastated Mexico. For years, the Mexican cartels have waged a brutal war for the control of border crossing in cities such as Juarez, Reynosa, Nuevo Laredo, and Tijuana. An enormous amount of contraband passes through the checkpoints of these cities. The cartels that control the towns impose their own taxes on the contraband trade, which enables them to acquire more resources and more power. This cycle of criminal activity will continue in the near future, even if Trump decides to construct a wall. The only effective way to halt Mexican cartels, the illicit trade, and the flow of illegal immigrants on the Mexican border is to fully shut down all the checkpoints with Mexico. This obviously is not going to happen. Mexico is the world's 12th largest economy. One cannot simultaneously stimulate the economy and shut down trade with Mexico. That's not going to work. Furthermore, the states of California, Texas, and the entire American Southwest consider Mexico as their primary export destination. Any American president that disrupts the flow of trade of California and Texas can expect to be impeached. All in all, Trump, whether one likes it or not, is without doubt the biggest game changer for 2017. As president, he will face tremendous bureaucratic challenges. Some will say these bureaucratic nuances prevent America from being great, yet others will say that the Constitution limits the harm one president can do. If Trump fails, he will be replaced in 4 years. However, the populist and nationalist sentiment that has spread throughout the United States is inherently more alarming than any president. In the past, disillusioned societies have often facilitated strong leaders who have harnessed the populist anger to break the rules of the system. Yet, the populist phenomenon is not unique to the United States. As America takes a hard turn to the right, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, France, Turkey, Pakistan, India, China, Japan, the Philippines, and many more will soon follow as we gradually enter the nationalist populist era. We'll go over this and more in the follow-up report. In the meantime, I want to thank the following people on Patreon for their contributions. Caspian Report is completely funded by its audience. We don't make any sponsored content. So if you wish to help, check out our fundraising page at patreon.com/CaspianReport. In any case, thank you for watching and Sarol.